Huge.
Guilty!
Can we
Guilty!
find some little VR courtroom or some shit?
Yeah.
Up to you if someone can arrange that.
If you
We'll
do
wait
not
till-
have a lawyer, the court will provide you one.
You can only use legal aid, by the way.
Your legal
What's
aid
about
is crom. I wouldn't take it.
I'll take it.
Parker,
take
you
these
could
nuts,
possibly
boy.
be the worst witness on the planet.
No, Stolo represent.
Bro, when Barker swears, bro, he's got his hand on a sheet of acid.
I've invited some external parties to sit in the courtroom, not in here. The metaphorical courtroom. They're joining the Twitch stream. They were just very interested in the case and they want to see it. Justice be served.
That's it. All are welcome to witness justice being served this evening. It's now 8 o'clock. So we shall commence proceedings, I believe, unless there are any issues with that.
No issues here.
Excellent. Well, welcome and thank you all for tuning in to tonight's case. This is Demons of the Rift and Provost 2022 Rift Law Reports Volume 1. So first, let's begin with the prosecution, who will lay out the charges pending against the defendant. Mr. Gallagher, please.
Your Honour, the prosecution is accusing one Mr. Josh Provost, also known as Mushroom Farmer, of one or more accounts of deceit and rattery following the drafting process of his team, the Shrigma Super Soldiers. The team was drafted and entered into the Demons of the Rift, or Dota Second Tournament, MSI Electric Boogaloo. Specifically, the prosecution is led to believe that information was withheld in regards to one or more team members' true league ranks when entering their details in the Dota MSI expression of interest. The case primarily involves Mr. Provost's second last pick, his jungler, HRH Koyection. HRH Koyection is currently listed in the Dota MSI expression of interest as being unranked this season and ranked Gold 4 in last year's league ranked season. As per the provided evidence, which I will upload now, the account HRH Koyection was ranked Platinum 1 last season for solo queue. Furthermore, Your Honour, and independent of the aforementioned evidence, my attention was brought to this case through an external source. The source, who has asked to remain anonymous, is known to have insider knowledge regarding the formation of the Shrigma Super Soldiers. The source has alleged that Mr. Provost was involved in a premeditated attempt, both knowingly and willingly made to deceive the tournament and the Demons of the Rift themselves. It is said that Mr. Provost knew of the alleged deceit and may have in fact enrolled HRH Koyection himself. As it currently stands, the prosecution would like to know more about Mr. Provost's relationship with HRH Koyection and his alleged involvement in the enrollment of his draftee.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. I had a question just quickly, and I wanted to clarify the nature of the charges. Was I correct in hearing you say you were charging him on deceit and rattery?
Yes, Your Honour, you have heard correctly.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Gallagher. And jury, honourable members of the jury, you now have the charges laid before you. We have one count of deceit and rattery. The prosecution alleged that he, Mr. Provost, the defendant, engaged in this conduct in a premeditated fashion, having full knowledge or not only of the offence, but of the consequences. That being said, Mr. Provost, you now, the floor is yours. You may plead guilty or not guilty, and you have a right of rebuttal, but you're also not obligated to speak and have a right to silence if you wish. Please feel free to speak now.
First of all, not guilty. That is what I have to say now. In order to conceal my identity to the court, I'll be now entering boomer mode.
Okay, so our first charge, what do we got? Deceit. Yeah, so I can understand where there could be some misunderstandings, perhaps. So, one question asked is, how did I know Wes? And he's a friend of mine from through my friend Ben Stott, and we like to play a bit of League together, a bit of Flex, and there was a case in which he was informed of our tournament, so I was asked to add him to the list, and he did so himself. Thank you. And I'm just having a look at the evidence here. I don't necessarily remember him putting gold 4 in solo queue. That's interesting, I'm going to say. But on all accounts, ranked season 12 unranked is correct. Neat is correct. Let me see. So yeah, the solo queue. Because before this, I must say, Your Honor, I was not aware of the charges at hand. So I'm just off the cuff. If I do sound a bit flustered, I'm not really sure how to approach this. But let's start with the solo queue rank. So that account is shared amongst friends in our group in the collection, and those solo queue games are indeed not Wes's. I know it sounds hard to believe, but that's his main account. The reason for his Platinum 1 standing is one of his friends is in Diamond, and another one of his friends wanted to queue with him. So that is why that account is Platinum 1 in solo queue. Rank Flex, I believe, is more indicative of his genuine talent. However, I have no explanation for his Season 11 rank being Gold 4. And I do think that that is indeed case for rattery. So I will accept that there is some rattery going on with the Season 11 rank. I don't believe that he is a Gold 4 solo queue player. He hasn't played a game of solo queue last season or this season, and he hasn't played solo queue since season 9. In that case, yeah, I don't think it was necessarily intentionally deceitful. I don't believe that anyone was trying to deceive anyone else. It was just perhaps misunderstanding. But I do have an explanation for the gold 4, actually. So I saw that he had put plat, and if I typed in HRH collection into u.gg, which is a account lookup site, and it did come up with gold. So if we could please review that. If we all look up HRH collection instead of collection, I wasn't aware that it was collection. So could we have a look at that, please? If we could review some documents.
Perhaps the stream could look at that.
So that is, I think, where the original conundrum came from, because I haven't played with Wes in a while, and I haven't necessarily talked to him too much recently, but he was interested in the tournament through my friend Ben, also in the tournament. So yeah, if we could all have a look at that, look up HRH collection instead of collection, you will see the basis of the misunderstanding, I believe.
I am the friend, and I'm happy to provide evidence when needed.
Yeah, this
Thank
is
you. Yes,
this is-
the court would be very pleased to hear evidence from the witness.
yeah, please, man, take it away.
Well, actually, it's not. I don't have any screenshots, but I am close friends with Wes. I've been playing with him for years, and I can confirm everything that Prov said is true. I do not believe he is a Gold 4 player. However, he does not play solo queue, and I think this is more a case of, what's it? He's following along what you said. You know, everyone was putting their solo queue ranks down. He just chucked down that account's stats because he doesn't play solo queue. The account gets shared by a lot of people, and yeah, basically, like Prov said, it is somewhat not indicative of his rank, but he doesn't really have a solo queue rank since he does not play the game mode, and Flex is more of a indicator of his actual skill.
Thank you to the witness for providing evidence. Mr. Provost, so am I correct in understanding that you accept guilty for rattery, but you do contest the charge of deceit, and as you argue, you lacked the requisite intent to deceive? Is that correct?
Yeah.
And the basis of that is that it was a shared account, and there are other discrepancies with the rank, as has been explained by the witness. Is that correct, as I understand it?
Yeah, and with rattery, I suppose, like, I was never in, like, I don't know if there is some form of intent behind rattery, if there is an onus on the defendant or the prosecution to prove rattery, but I feel like it is malaligned with my character to intentionally deceive a good bunch of fellas, and I don't necessarily know what the charge of rattery indicates necessarily. So I would like maybe some clarification on the
Yep.
definition of rattery, if possible, from the bench.
Of course, and we will turn to the prosecution to provide such a definition. But before that, um, just to clarify that, yes, the prosecution does bear the onus of proving the guilt of the defendant beyond a reasonable doubt. And as we have a jury with us tonight, the relevant findings of the jury must be by majority. So just letting all parties and members of, or I guess the members of the public witnessing that is the current requisite of proof that the prosecution must discharge. So,
May
Mr.
I
Gallagher,
quickly,
yes,
sorry, address the chat?
please.
Nuff has said, why was he signed up on a shared account? It is a shared account, but that's his main account. That's the only account he plays on, save a few Silver Smurfs. He doesn't have another main account. It's just that people will use his account to solo queue with their friends. So that's his main account.
See, okay. Mr. Gallagher, do you have a response to some of these issues being put forward?
Yeah, obviously what Prov's laid out obviously bears a lot more questions, and which I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of. First of which, I guess, so are you calling HRH? Are you calling HRH collection a bad player, or you said his ranked flex is indicative of his true skill? Platinum 4. I'm not sure where he got the gold 4 from. I guess, like, did he average that out, or is that what he thinks his rank is deserved to be? Furthermore, you said it is a collection. It's a collection of players, but are you implying that Wes himself just runs the account? He represents the collection. Does he have his own account that only he owns? The account level is 261. Did he previously own this account? You did say the last ranked season he played was season 9, in which he did achieve Diamond 4. So he was obviously a grinder back in the day, but now has it expanded into more of a collection, or a collection, if you will, reaching Platinum 1 in season 2021, last year's season, and Platinum 2 in the season previous. Is that what you're saying?
Not. I don't think the account is necessarily a collection. It's Wes's primary account. But when people want to play with their friends who are in Diamond, they will use his account, given the previous MMR from season 9. So that's the reason why that account is Plat 1. He has not actually himself played any ranked games in the past 3 seasons. So since season 9, he has played Flex with his friends, but there is no solo queue games.
I do have one question in regards to these points that you make now. Is there any evidence that you can provide? Obviously, this is a court of fact as well as law. So the court of fact requires such facts to be proven with evidence. And if you could perhaps provide some evidence of, this shared account.
I can perhaps bring, if I can get in contact with him, the player who does play on the account to play with his friends.
Well, if you may, that would be great. But otherwise, the jury must remember at all times, both the facts and arguments of the prosecution defendants must be substantiated with evidence. That must be kept in mind at all times. So,
Sure.
so please
I
feel
might
free to
have-
contact.
In the meantime,
Yes?
I might have more to add.
Please continue.
In my initial opening, I did state that Mr. Provost is being accused on one or more accounts of deceit and rattery, and I worded it as such because HRH Collection is not the only player drafted in Mr. Provost's team whereby his true league rank doesn't appear to match up with the entered rank in the expression of interest. His other player, his first pick, Stott, I believe, who's referred to as, he is listed as In this current season, gold low, but importantly, last season as gold. That is false. And Monogamy Enjoyer, or Stott, reached Platinum 1 last season, and is currently gold 1. But I do understand that he may have ranked up since
I would
committing himself.
I would definitely like to say some words at this. I don't know if we can see the. I am that player, by the way. I don't know if we can see the history of this account, or sorry, this Google sheet that we're referring to. But I definitely put plat as last season when I entered it, and that's been changed by someone, not me.
Could it be likely that that someone was your current team captain, Mr. Provost, who
No,
perhaps
it
wanted
was
to, for your rank and your skill, to fly under the radar for a
it
more
was
streamlined
definitely
draft?
plat. It was definitely plat when we did the draft. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, I'd like
I-
to attest to that. But
I don't think
regardless,
I don't think I was that high ranked. There were plenty of players higher ranked than me. Also plat, all of the above that were on there who
In
would have
the
picked before me.
in the
I don't
separate
think there was any risk of I don't think we were really trying to game the system at all. We were
in the
just,
second tab, where a new list of names was made for the draft specifically, you are still listed. Well, that is current rank, and you are
we
listed as
got some
gold low.
evidence.
Can I just draw the attention to the chat? I've pulled up the edit history.
ooh, yeah, I don't know.
11 days ago. This was long before that my attention was ever brought to this.
Hmm.
What
Very
day was the
compelling.
draft?
Ooh, okay.
Kipik has provided
Well,
a screenshot from the draft stream.
Well, Mr. Provost, do you have any response to these images coming into the courtroom now?
Wait up.
well,
Hold on, can we see can we just check the day of the draft?
no, it does say gold, but
Yeah.
well, I guess that's shit. But I didn't change it myself.
Hold on. We've got some photos from the draft day, and
Oh.
it says Monogamy Enjoyer, Platinum, Gold, Low.
So it does say plat. Yeah, I don't know why someone would change that, but I promise it wasn't me, especially if it was plat on the stream.
Hmm. Well, okay, to clarify to the jury, this offense as charged on the defendant has essentially two elements. One being the act itself. I think it's clear from the evidence that the act has been committed as the prosecution has stated. And the second question that comes into is the intention or the mindset when these acts were committed. So the jury must now consider whether these acts were intentional, whether you believe the plea of ignorance, and might I remind the jury that ignorance of the law or of the rules or of the code of conduct is not an excuse.
Can we just confirm that he was gold on the day of the draft?
Of course.
Yeah, just to make sure.
Could someone please assist with that confirmation?
It was gold on the day of the draft.
Was he? Because I see Harry's put a screenshot.
I see
I don't know
two
if that
different. I
was-
see screenshots saying two different things.
Yeah, and that's what I'm confused about, Your Honor.
On the where is it? Where am I?
So it was plat the day before, not the day of draft. That's fair
Prom
enough.
did upload the edit history at 5:33 p.m. Platinum was replaced with gold.
And what time was draft?
It was
we
after
have it?
5:30 p.m.
Yeah, fair enough.
It was at 8:53 p.m.
That's understandable. Was gold on the time of draft? Yeah, that's fair.
It was changed
my-
to gold low as well before the draft. From gold.
Interesting. So I suppose my defense here was that I didn't change it, but Ben was always going to be my first pick, so I don't think it would have changed very much considering the circumstances. But yeah,
That's
it
why
does appear.
Perhaps, but
the prosecution
that
does
takes away
understand that.
from the issue in question.
It's to keep my.
The issue is not perhaps the impact on the
graphics card
tournament.
cool,
It's
'cause
The issue is perhaps where the act's committed and intentionally committed, irrespective of the potential impact on the tournament.
Don't know.
The
What was that? Sorry,
prosecution.
can you repeat?
Essentially, the
Gotta
point being
wait
is
8 people.
the impact on the tournament, as far as I can see, irrelevant. The issues in question are whether the acts were committed and whether the acts were intended to be committed. That is the question before the jury tonight.
Okay, understandable. Yeah, I don't think I personally didn't change him from platinum to gold, but understandably that would make an impact on the situation at hand. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's pretty
Okay.
obvious that he isn't gold if you research his profile. Like,
Yeah, I
you
don't.
had the chance to. Like, it's
I-
pretty hard to hide like previous seasons' ranks when it's plastered pretty much everywhere. But I understand.
I do see some messages coming in from the public that they would like to see some evidence, and as of course I've mentioned, the issue before us is intention and knowledge, and whether there was an intent to deceive, and perhaps Mr. Provost, as the defender, you'd like to call a witness to attest to your character
I
in
guess,
regards to potential deceit.
yeah, sure. I'm thinking that perhaps not Barker. I don't think that he would be acting in my best interest here, just based on a very banterous and tumultuous friendship.
Let the record show that the court approves of the refusal of Barker's witness.
And I'm
Continue.
happy for it to be refuted. At the end of the day, this is a court of the people, not of the prosecution and the defense. So if there is an overwhelming need to include a member to speak, then I'm more than happy to allow it.
It is completely up to you.
Please.
I would, Your Honour, instead like to provide the chat with the opportunity to allow Barker to take the stand if possible.
Hello.
So be it.
This is Edward Barker.
Can someone
Hello,
put
Edward
a
Barker.
chat if he gets to speak?
Is it my turn to speak?
It is your turn to speak. You have been called to the witness stand, and I presume you shall answer all questions with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please continue.
I will swear. I swear on an oath to provide nothing but the truth and the whole truth.
Thank you.
So I last season was on Prov's team, and I like Prov, and the thing there was a few things that went wrong with our team last season.
Thanks, Dom.
Amongst those issues, Prov provided an alternative solution to maybe help us win a few games. And that solution was that he would get his mates on other accounts and get them to smurf and we wouldn't play. So it'd be Prov and his boys, and he said they would win us games. We never took him up on this offer at the time. However, I did hear Prov earlier say something along the lines of, I'm a good guy and I wouldn't want to deceive the people of the Demons of the Rift. And I don't want to slander anything, but I have from the horse's mouth heard some propositions to deceive and betray the Demons of the Rift.
Yeah, okay. Can I object and possibly call in another former member of my team to show that that was in jest and a joke? I don't think that was meant to be taken seriously, because at that point we were out of the tournament.
Of course, you're more than welcome to call another witness, and I guess again for the record, let it show that many of Barker's comments are classified as hearsay. So yes, please feel free to call on a second, perhaps, or hopefully more competent witness. Thank you.
May I also make it known that this was after we had lost enough games to not make it any further in the tournament. Therefore, the advantage produced would not be a benefit to anybody.
Potentially. I think it may have been earlier.
Could it have impacted other teams that were trying to get through the bracket?
He could
I
have.
believe
He
our
could have.
last game was against Ivan, and his team was also rooted, and we never got to play it.
Look, the idea was there. The idea was
And
there.
it was never to be acted upon, and I'm sure I would like to call up Harry Martin, to a current team member as well, but I'm sure that would not be
Of course.
against the court of the law.
Please feel free to invite him to the stand.
Harry,
Hello.
would you? Hello.
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 I can confirm that this was said by Prov last season in the very first games of the Rift tournament. It was off the cuff, but it was said nonetheless.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
Harry, if I'm
Um,
allowed to speak with the other witness, I dare say it might have been floated a few times, the idea, maybe 3, 4 times across the whole tournament.
It was said at least once. I can't recall if it was said more than that. But I don't think it matters. It was still said.
I rest my case.
Thank you, Mr. Barker. So if nobody or neither party has anything else to add, I believe
Your
we
Honor,
can
may I
perhaps
please?
conclude. Yes.
Just a
Yes.
final
No.
note.
Of course.
Just a final note, and
argument.
this is related to this this final bit of evidence that I've already uploaded to the Discord chat. Your Honor, HRH Correction played an incredible game of Kindred a couple nights ago. He took out what was thought to be a top team in an amazing display of jungling finesse. As seen in this video, we see him pulling off an epic ult. I think no one can take that away from him. It was a great game.
Mm,
Your Honor, there are 0 Kindred games played on the HRH Correction account as far as op.gg knows, and UGG the same. We don't see Kindred anywhere. In previous pop-offs in tournament games, we see Joe on Zaya. He carried his game before. Plenty of games this season. He's been practicing. Most of these players practice these champions for year in, year out, for upwards of 10 years, to whip them out on the big stage. And these players are very proud to do well with their champions. I find it somewhat suspicious that there's seemingly no Kindred practice on the account HRH Correction leading up to his big debut game.
Objection, Your Honor. If that's okay.
On what grounds?
All of these stats in the evidence on the stream are ranked stats, and I feel like I have established that our Wes does not play much ranked, and he has a little bit of Kindred experience through playing with the friends, etc., in normal games, etc.
Not ranked flex, none in flex either.
No, he's not a jungle player. He is a mid main.
Interesting. Well,
I'd like to say some
Yep.
things.
This is the wrong account, by the way, Samson. This is HRH Collection, not Collection. But if we,
just
I personally have never seen him play Kindred, but I know he doesn't have other accounts that he plays on. He's been playing for a long time, as you can see.
Okay. Very interesting. Well, on that note, if there is no more evidence to be put forward to the court tonight, I believe it is time to
I would-
allow our jury to enter
I would like to
deliberation.
say one thing before we wrap up.
Yes.
Just in terms of addressing the individual cases. Again,
Yep.
I never, wanted to argue against the fact that there was some deception in terms of his true skill. He is a great player. I'll be the first to admit that. He's a fantastic player. He doesn't play ranked, and there was no intention to deceive. However, yes, I would, if I was asked to place him, I would probably put him as a low diamond, maybe high plat on jungle, and even higher on mid. But again, he just saw the thing saying rank, and he just put his account's rank in there.
But he didn't.
So,
But he didn't do that.
I mean, sorry, Prov put his rank in there.
But even that rank was false if it is if it was just
Well, that
according
was
to the
just
account's rank.
the collection, the I's and the L's mix up, I believe.
Yeah,
I can't speak for that. I don't know what happened there. I thought the
Mm.
account was unranked all seasons, but
Mm.
yes, I would say I would definitely be arguing that there was no intention. But yeah, he is a good player. I would argue that. I would say he's his performance is pretty indicative of how good he is as a player.
May I raise something once your point is finished, please?
Yeah, I'm done.
Upon further inspection of the
Crom smells.
Shut up, Barker. Please remove him from the courtroom.
One warning,
Sorry,
Barker.
1 second. 1 moment. My grandma is wigging out. I apologize.
We'll
I
allow it.
think she has fallen down the stairs 1 moment. It's not funny, my bad.
I believe this. You may adjourn for a brief recess to assist your grandmother in evident peril.
Can I continue with my point? Because I'm not a prosecution, but it's just something for the people to listen to.
Of
Or would you
course.
like to wait? Just upon further inspection of the Excel, when you go into the edit history to see who has changed gold with gold low, it says anonymous users. However, the point that should be paid attention to is in the availability section, which would never have been edited by someone else. It was edited 2 minutes before the edit from gold to gold low, which would suggest that it was done by the same person that set up the account and entered all the details. Just a point to consider.
What was the change made?
I'll take screenshots, but let me show you.
Was it not full-time wage cook the whole time? That's what I
No,
typed in.
Yes, but when it was entered, the change from gold to gold low
First time
was
kindred,
done
but
2 minutes after that, suggesting that the person who entered full-time wage cut did it at the same time.
Yeah, but the gold low was done like I made that change, but that was done about 7 days before the other one or something like that. It was like days before the other change.
Yeah, I've got screenshots coming.
April
That's the
15th
first one.
compared to
That's
April
the
21st.
change in full-time cut. And then if you go to gold low, you will see that the change was made 2 minutes afterwards.
May I interject?
Yeah, well, I'm not denying I made that change from gold to gold low. That saying gold low is just like it's like a joke, like saying piss low or something like that. It's a league term. Just
Fair
saying
enough.
I'm in gold. And I made that change. I didn't, and that was April 15th, which is the last time I changed my details on that
Fair enough.
page. The other change was done by someone else. I don't know who. I have no idea. No one in my team mentioned anything about it.
No, fair enough. I just thought I'd raise the point.
Thank you, Crom, for providing that evidence and explanation. Are there any final points to be made?
Yes, if that's okay.
Yep.
In relation to the changes on the basis of rattery, because they are anonymous, and obviously the charges have to be proven beyond reasonable doubt, I don't think it can be really held against Prov for that because they are anonymous.
This is indeed correct. The witness ideally would come forward, and the jury is, of course, instructed to perhaps treat that evidence from a so-called anonymous witness as less persuasive than it otherwise would. That is the unfortunate reality of evidence law, unless this anonymous witness wishes to come forward. That is.
I would like to just ask if someone who has more knowledge on Google Sheets, I'm logged in on Google, and I was when I put in those changes. Will it show that those changes were made by me, the first two?
No,
And if
Hey guys,
they wouldn't?
I'm gonna have to call an ambulance for me nan, so I'll probably be back in 15. She's alright. She's just fallen down the stairs, maybe bunged her knee. But yes. Continue the court. I will be here in spirit.
Godspeed, sir.
Hope she's
I
alright.
hope she's okay, bro. Thoughts
Hope
with
she's
her.
okay,
I hope
King.
she's
For
good.
the
Thoughts,
best.
okay.
thoughts and
Look up.
prayers for sure. Okay, please continue.
Yeah, your animal will change. If you remain anonymous, it won't come back to the same animal every single time. So, yeah, you can't show that, unfortunately.
Alright, never mind.
And at this point, just to get things over and done with, I'm happy to accept the charges, just in general, of rattery. Perhaps not deceit, but yeah, rattery's understandable. I can understand the perception of the public court and of opinion, so I will plead guilty on rattery, but not on deception.
Of
Provost,
course,
love
we'll
you.
let the record state with approval that Provost has accepted the charge of rattery. And at least in that regard, we will leave the jury to come to some form of sentence. The prosecution has originally put forward that they would like the removal of the team in its entirety, but the court would perhaps also be willing to listen to any other suggestions or modifications should the jury consider
Sorry,
it wise.
Your Honour, the prosecution's proposed punishment for the
Yes,
charges
of course.
deceit
No,
and
let's hear
rattery.
that. Yes.
It was in complete removal of the team. I think they deserve a fighting chance. I think Provost deserves a fighting chance at the title. Unfortunately, though, I think we did deem a punishment in the likes of HRH Collection is kicked from the team and the tournament and is replaced by an unpicked draftee or anyone who's currently available.
Very well.
I think I'll speak for Prov here. I don't know. Do we want to wait for Prov to come back?
Well, ideally it would be here, but he did ultimately say that he's left
Yeah, I was going to
Speak on
say
his behalf.
agency to you to make some arguments.
I think, well, we might wait for Prov to come back to confirm, but I think that was what we were expecting. I think we were we were ready to accept that, and I think that is fair.
Okay. Well,
I'll wait for
perhaps message Prov if you can, just to obviously the
For the
condition of his
period
grandmother is important.
for the period of time that he's gone, perhaps the jury can go to the deliberation room and discuss, because that's kind of why we had a
Yes.
jury.
Yes. I think perhaps there should be two alternatives of punishment. Since we know that there is a guilty plea to rattery, there should be one base punishment for that. And perhaps if the jury feels that Mr. Provost is also guilty of deceit, then perhaps there can be a slightly more serious punishment. Doesn't have to be removal, of course, but some form of handicap. I'm not sure. I'll leave it to the prosecution or whoever to decide. But otherwise, the jury would perhaps be irrelevant if the charges were simply accepted as they were.
May I suggest an alternative punishment?
Of course.
Just because Wes, who is HRH Koyakshin, did not input his information on the fact sheet of Demons of the Rift, I don't think it's fair for him to be completely removed from the tournament based on Prov's doings, whether intentional or not. So perhaps maybe a role swap on the team could be applicable, but I'll leave that up to the jury.
How does the prosecution feel about this suggestion generally? Is you all unanimous on that?
I'll speak for the prosecution, but we would like to have a recess to discuss options, but I don't think a role swap is good enough because he's not a jungle main, so it's not really nerfing that guy. But
Understandable.
could be wrong.
Well, perhaps the lead counsel of prosecution, the defense, and I can enter a separate chat to quickly maybe discuss some potential options while the jury deliberates. And we can perhaps have a recess first if parties would like to discuss their own options. Because we do need to put something concrete before the jury.
Again, I said what I said, and I think the punishment that I laid out just previously, I think that's more than fair. People may agree. I think punishments such as minus points or extra bans or a role swap may not suffice. Minusing points is just anti-fun, I feel. And watching this team of essentially 3 diamond players steamroll this tourney, potentially, I don't think that's very fun either.
Mm.
Because at this stage, that's what it does feel like. That this team, the Shrigma Super Soldiers, does have essentially three diamond players, as far as I'm concerned, playing in the one team, and only one of those players was correctly identified as a diamond player.
I've never
that
hit
was the
diamond myself.
I would say essentially
But
diamond players.
yes,
Go, Prof.
I agree. I know what you're saying.
Okay, well,
Right.
what
It's
do
all
you want
good.
to do?
Ah, he's back.
Oh, he's back. Well,
Let's catch him up to speed.
yes, let's catch him up to speed. So we've had a few suggestions as to the potential punishment or sentencing in response to these charges. Would perhaps Gallagher, would you like to very quickly summarize your position, and then the defense can put their summarized position to Prov?
What I just said before, Prov, before you came back, was that, I mean, we've been laying it, ideas being tossed around about a potential punishment, even under the charge of just rattery. The prosecutor's proposed punishment being that HRH Collection is kicked from the team in the tournament and replaced with a undrafted player, a community member of Demons of the Rift. Other options included deducting points at the end of your tourney run, or extra bans against your team, or a role swap. But I personally, and the rest of the prosecution, do not see those punishments fit, or anti-fun, or not impactful enough. And
Okay.
having a team full of arguably 3 diamonds or 3 high plat players kind of steamrolling through, especially with the charges of deceit and rattery looming, I feel as if there's reason to stand against that.
Understandable. I think maybe can I propose another option that if we can assume that Les is a bit of a weapon, can we? Yeah, 1 second. My Ableton crashed, so I can't turn it off. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a bit fucked. Can we perhaps trade Wes to another team, perhaps, so he can still play in the tournament, but not under our banner? Because I feel like it'd be a good addition to some teams, and we're happy to, take another player in his spot.
I don't mind the sound of that. I think that should be considered, certainly. If there's another team, another player fit for a trade, now that we know of HRH Collection's true skill level, perhaps, I think perhaps, we could come to terms with that.
Okay, well,
I must say as well, I'm not sure that Wes would maybe want to play because he just wanted to play with Ben and I, so that might not be an option. So perhaps we can, go with the other options. I'm just talking with Wes. So yeah, we can weigh up the other options as well, I guess.
well, I guess, is there anything else to add? As far as there's been a lot of suggestions offered tonight, but my understanding right now is that we are looking at a potential swap. Is that correct?
Maybe not on that front. I don't think he'd want to play in the tournament if it wasn't with Ben and I. So yeah,
So no.
maybe
Okay.
other options. Yeah.
Okay. Well, in that case, I think we can hand over to the jury now. You have heard all the evidence, the arguments put forward to you tonight. Now you must come to some form of consensus as to whether or what sort of sentence. Perhaps there can be some, since this is a special court of law, there can be some negotiation between parties. That is up to the council. But I think we have heard all the evidence that could possibly be said. And with that, we will officially close the court of evidence this evening.
Thank you, Your Honour.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you. You're right.
So yeah, jury, feel free to enter a chat, have a discussion with yourselves.
Jungler removed and
So just one ban is removed from them, and the
Yep.
jungler is swapped to a different team. We'll give him the option of he can not play or but
Swap
the thing
out with
is
someone
someone has
else.
to the thing is if we want an undrafted player to come in or if someone is willing to swap.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll give them the option, I think.
Yeah, like we don't want to kick him from the tournament. Like he was also claiming that he was not the one.
Just gonna get a quick 1v1 for the boys. Oh, what's a good 1v1 champ, chat? What's a good 1v1 champ, chat? I think someone moved me to the courtroom. It's LeBlanc. It's LeBlanc. It's LeBlanc.
If the stars align. Wait, where did he say that? Where did he say that? Where did?
It's barred. Wait, we're not on Howling Abyss? We're not on Howling. Scuffed. Scuffed game.
Honourable Sir Patrick John Lacanis.
Thank you. Jury has reached its formal conclusion.
Yes, the jury has reached a conclusion. I'd like to represent the jury here in passing on their decision.
One moment, Crom. Are all parties present? Just a word from prosecution defendant before the jury shares with us its decision.
Yes, Your Honour.
Yes, Your Honour, I'm present.
Just
Excellent.
quickly, Prov, I hope everything's all right.
Yeah, she's chilling, bro. It's all good.
Glad to hear. Glad to hear.
Wrapped
to
her
hear.
up. She'll live to die another day, I suppose. That's probably
Excellent.
not the right term to use, but anyway.
Well,
All
very
right.
glad to hear. Okay, thank you. Please, Crom, proceed.
Upon careful deliberation of both sides of the argument provided by the prosecution and defense, we've tried to determine and discern the facts as correctly as we can and deliver an equitable and fair judgment. We do not have the intention of removing the entire team. That is not what the jury wants at all. We know you guys are good competitors. We want you in the tournament. However, the jury has reached the conclusion that HIH Collection must be removed from the team. We are proposing that he either will be subbed onto another team if someone is willing to swap. This will be done under moderation from the Council of the Captains, as we can't have him joining another team and making it another super team. We also will impose on that fact, just to, because we don't want to punish just one player here. We want to just reflect it throughout. We will be removing one ban of your total 5 bans per game. So you're only allowed to ban 4 champions going forward. And we think that this is a fair reflection of the actions that have occurred. Mr. Lakanos, what are your thoughts?
Well, ultimately, I think it is really the jury to decide, the punishments, and I think the options do make sense. I do feel that perhaps the nature of this situation does require some negotiation, as is evident in your flexibility in your sentencing. But I think these are some reasonable suggestions, definitely something to work off. It is clear that the defendant is guilty, at least in the respects that we have mentioned so far. So I think punishment is definitely in order. The extent to which punishment is inflicted will, I think, ultimately depend on some negotiation between the parties. So unless there's anything else to say, I believe judgment is passed. Formal reasons will be published after the negotiation or conversations are concluded. I'd like to thank you all for such a informative and respectful discussion. It's been truly a pleasure. And thank you. So with that, see you all in the Rift.
Cheers, boys.
Thank you,
Here,
Judge
here.
Pat.
Thank you, honourable judge. Thank you, honourable judge.
Justice is served.
Thank you, Pat.
Yeah,
Gavel bang. Gavel
Yeah,
bang.
yeah.
Gavel bang.
We'll discuss the swapping
vape.
of players. If anyone wants to take him onto their team, please get your captains to talk and approach the captain's chat with your ranks, and a vote will be passed on whether or not he's the acceptable move of player. We need a downgrade to be moving to his team, not an upgrade.
Thanks,
Alright.
stream. Bye bye.
Perfect.